Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel all about real estate. My name is Lewis, and today's video is going to be really eye-opening. We're going to be talking about how the housing crisis continues and the Biden administration's housing supply action plan is not enough to help the home builders bring more supply to the market. Now, if you are new to the channel and you like all things finance, real estate, and investing, please hit that like button and that subscribe button right there. And if you haven't done so in the past, please consider leaving a comment. The comments really help me as well as others learn and grow. Without further ado, let's jump right to the article. All right, here we go. I have an article from the National Association of Home Builders. I will go ahead and link to that in the show notes so you can see it for yourself here. But it says that Biden releases a plan to tackle the housing affordability crisis. And as you go into this article, I found a few things really interesting. It says that the Biden administration released what it calls a housing supply action plan to ease high housing costs by increasing supply of quality housing throughout the nation over the next 5 years. I'm going to also link to his housing supply action plan, but I went through it myself here briefly. Couple key points. He is going to reward jurisdictions that have reform zoning and land use policies. They plan on providing incentives for land use and zoning reform and reducing regulatory barriers. And among several other things, they also plan on scaling up ADUs, which are additional dwelling units, and piloting ADUs and home renovation financing tools. Now, of course, all of this is in an effort to reduce regulations, so home builders, it will be a little bit easier for them to construct properties and bring more supply online. But it's really interesting what the National Association of Home Builders has to say. Let's take a look. It says that we commend the White House for joining the fight to put the issue of housing affordability in the forefront of the national economic agenda after NAHB has been urging the administration to move on this vital national concern for the past several months. However, the plan does not go far enough to resolve the many underlying challenges facing the home building industry, including skyrocketing costs for lumber and other building materials and the broader supply chain crisis. These issues must be addressed to help home builders increase the production of much needed housing. So this has been an issue here for several months, if not the last couple years. We've seen a massive spike in the cost of lumber, the cost of other building materials, and there has been a huge shortage of labor as well as rising costs of labor. So this is doing two things right now. It is making it very difficult for the home builders to turn a profit by building affordable housing because there's simply not enough margin. They're getting squeezed by their fixed costs. And the second thing that it's causing an issue is that it's taking dramatically more time for builders to finish construction on these homes due to their inability to secure building materials. So it's taking dramatically longer to build and it's costing more than expected. So builders are having to find other ways to make profit. And then the only way to do that, of course, is to build larger homes that have more margin, but then you're generally selling those at higher price points. Now, the article goes on to say that as interest rates and construction costs have increased, the housing market is showing significant signs of weakening, increasing the recession risk for the overall economy. Increasing the nation's supply of affordable housing will help to combat the inflation crisis and keep the economy moving forward. So we are, unfortunately, at this time, seeing some signs or some overall risk of recession. Now, recession is generally measured by 2 negative quarters of GDP. Last quarter, we did see the first negative quarter of GDP, and we'll have to see what this quarter looks like. But we are starting to see some cracks in the economy. In addition to that, we're seeing massive amounts of inflation right now. Those inflation numbers came out at about 8.3% this month alone. And so costs are going up for nearly every good and service, and then interest rates have gone up, which is making it increasingly unaffordable for home ownership. In addition to that, builders across the country have faced a 35% increase in the price of lumber and other building materials since the start of the pandemic. The National Association of Home Builders urges the White House to act on the common sense solutions that we have offered to address the current lumber crisis, one of which would be ending tariffs on Canadian lumber shipments into the United States that are exacerbating the unprecedented lumber price volatility. Another would be increasing the domestic supply of timber from federal lands in an environmentally responsible manner. And the third would be calling on domestic sawmills to boost output. So those are three ideas provided to the administration by the National Association of Home Builders. NAHB will continue to work with the administration to resolve supply chain disruptions for building materials, which must be addressed immediately. So by the sound of this article here, the supply chain issues are causing more issues than the rising prices at this point. If they could fix some of those supply chain issues, they can get their product, their material faster, and not only would that speed up production, but it sounds like it would also reduce the prices of some of those materials. Now, the White House's plan includes steps that the administration can take through the federal agencies to help address a host of affordability challenges and improve financing options, as well as legislative proposals that must be enacted by Congress. The administration acknowledges the long-term headwinds like supply chain bottlenecks and chronic construction labor shortages repeatedly identified by the NAHB. Although this plan also properly identifies the state and local governments must address the policies and regulations that prohibit housing, NAHB is calling on the administration to acknowledge the need to reform federal regulations that raise the cost of producing single-family and multifamily housing. So I have a little bit of experience in construction and with building an additional dwelling unit, and my experience was really interesting. With the additional dwelling unit that we built, we anticipated that the permitting process would take about 30 to 60 days. It actually took about 4 months to complete. In addition to that, the impact fees, so your permitting, your school fees, your taxes, they call those impact fees. We initially thought they would be somewhere around maybe $10,000. That cost actually made our jaw drop to the ground. What we thought would be about 10 grand was actually about $30,000 in order just to break ground on that additional dwelling unit. And in wrapping up the article, the NAHB agrees that the White House that the key to resolving our nation's housing affordability challenge is, of course, to build more homes. So we haven't built enough homes over the last 10 years. They are working actively to build more, but with signs that the economy is weakening, it's no wonder why home builders are starting to get a little bit worried about the market in the coming years here. The home building industry is willing to partner in solving the affordability crisis, and that will enable builders to construct more affordable entry-level housing. See, that is what's mostly not profitable right now for them because of some of these regulatory issues. And of course, they want to increase the number of first-time, first-generation, and minority home ownership rates, provide quality rental housing, and shore up the national economy. All right, so that is going to wrap up the article from the National Association of Home Builders. I found it really eye-opening and interesting. I think it's great that the Biden administration is working to solve the affordability crisis, but according to the NAHB, we need to do more. We need to reduce some of the regulations, some of the red tape, so that we can build more of these homes, make more affordable housing, and make it so that these home builders can turn a profit for the affordable housing units. If they can do that, they're certainly going to build more, and they're willing to work with the administration in order to do that. So what do you think about this? Please leave your thoughts below in the comment section. We would love to hear from you. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button, that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next video.